What is going on, everybody? Kyle with Confident Canines here, and today we are going to talk about puppies. We start puppies, so to define like what a puppy is to us, we start puppy training in our board and train programs between 14 and 16 weeks. That's mainly because 14 weeks is usually when we can start e-collar training, and also around that time is when they'll finish getting their vaccines, which they need to have to be here. So that's when we start, and that's kind of when we could recommend that you start at home too. If you were going to start like a prong and a remote collar train program with your dog at home, 14 to 16 weeks would be a good time to get started with that. So that leaves kind of an empty space though for a lot of people, who are maybe getting their dogs at like 8 weeks or 10 weeks, and they're waiting, 4 to 6 to maybe even 8 weeks to be able to enter that dog into a real, or not a real, but a more advanced training program. So we want to talk about some things that you can do with your dog, between that time, either before you send them to a trainer or before you start your program yourself. Because there's a lot that you can get done, actually in that time. Things that definitely we recommend is anytime you're working your dog, you can work them for their daily food. They should be eating dry food, most likely. So you can just take that kibble, don't use treats, don't use people food, don't use extra food. So you can use their daily food as their reward for working them. They're puppies, so they're going to get distracted a lot, so using their food can help them kind of stay engaged. It also establishes a relationship with you. It establishes that resources come from you. It establishes that they should engage with you and that that's beneficial. It helps keep them focused on you when distractions are going on. They're really young, so we don't do as much correction. We can do more reward at that time. Teach them sit, and you can use it as a lure. So you can teach them sit, and get them to sit their bottom on the ground, say good job, mark it with good, give them their food, break, and do it again. And you can just do that throughout the day, as the days go by. They're working for all their food every day. They will totally learn sit. You can do the same thing with down. You can just kind of drop it to the ground, get their nose on the ground, mark it with good, and pretty soon they'll start doing it. And then pretty soon you won't have to lure them anymore either. You can just give them the command and they'll do it. You can also do it with place. We don't do duration with puppies that young. 14 to 16 weeks is when we would start doing that as well. But they can still learn the concept of, okay, this is a down, and then the concept of break. It might be a very short time that they're there, but they're still learning break. And the same with place. And you can also start working on recall too. In combinations, you can really just start bouncing your dog around, recall here, sit, down, place, down, whatever, for their food. You want to keep the sessions pretty short, 5, 10 minutes, maybe 15 at a time. 15 might be a lot. Just kind of read your dog and see if they seem like they're getting disengaged, or if they're kind of struggling, then this might be a good time to stop. But you can do that multiple times throughout the day. So, basic obedience, definitely something you can do as early as 8 weeks. Definitely leash training is something you can do as early as 8 weeks. You might not be taking them on like long walks, but it's important for them to use a slip lead. Don't use a prong collar yet, but don't use a flat collar either. Use a slip lead, but it's important for them to have that sensation of having a leash around their neck so that they don't freak out later on. We get a lot of dogs that have not had that experience, and it seems like, oh, it's a dog, they should know how to wear a leash, but if they haven't before, then they won't. And it can cause them to kind of have a negative reaction to it, and a lot of people, they don't know how to handle that, and then they have a dog who just doesn't want to walk, who doesn't want to have the leash on, or has at least a bad reaction to the leash. So take your dog out on a leash, sometimes have the leash on, give them affection with it on, get them used to having it on, taking it off, so that it's not a foreign concept to them. And that's the concept, really a lot of having a puppy is just about like exposure, exposing them to things that you don't want them to freak out about later, like a leash, like structure, like, different surfaces like carpets and floors and grasses and that kind of thing, different environments as much as you can safely without going to like dog parks or anything like that, or anywhere that could get sick. But the more that they can, be exposed to things, not necessarily like handled, like everybody has to handle them, because we don't want that to be something, but just being around things so they can get used to just being around things that don't necessarily like throw them for a loop. That'll help stave off a lot of reactivity down the line. Crate training is really important. Definitely your dog can learn how to be in a crate. In fact, puppies that, you know, between like 8 weeks and like 12 weeks probably should be in their crate like 20 hours a day, like 18 or 20 hours a day, which seems like a lot. But it isn't, because puppies sleep a lot. They're like babies. Babies sleep a lot. Puppies sleep a lot. And all of these things, you know, we speak from experience. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy. You know, we definitely have had like 10-week-old puppies here that are in their crate like 20 hours a day. And they don't whine. They don't freak out. They don't pee in their crate. It's not a problem. So it does. If it's stressful, you know, if your dog is protesting it, then that's something we need to address, instead of just thinking, oh, it's a puppy, they can't stay in a crate without whining. They definitely can. We just have to ask that they do. So like I said, they should be in their crate, you know, like 20 hours a day. You need to practice threshold at the door, so practicing them going in. That's another thing you can lure with your food, especially with a wire crate. You can kind of lure them over the top of it and then give it to them through the wire. They need to respect the threshold coming out. We do have like a crate video, and that would apply to puppies too, everything in there, even though we're talking mostly about adult dogs. So they need to respect the threshold going in and out. They can have, you know, bedding as long as they're not chewing it. If they're chewing it, then you need to just take the bedding out. That's fine. They don't have to have bedding in there. And if you do have any whining or nonsense, which you probably will in the beginning, use just a bonker, which is just like a towel rolled up. Tell them no, smack the crate with it, or tell them no and throw it at the crate. You know, just something to snap them out of that state of mind, that kind of behavior is not desired by us, it's not allowed by us, and they need to stop. And like I said, your puppy, even that young, can definitely learn how to relax and chill out in the crate. And if they're in their crate, it's really, you know, important for crate training too, for potty training. You know, if they're in their crate, you know, they don't make sure it's appropriately sized, they don't have too much room. Take them out regularly, and then that will go a long way towards potty training. You know, your puppy can probably potty trained, you know, by like, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks, as long as you're taking them out regularly. We've definitely had puppies that young that, you know, would go all night with no problem. So just make sure you take them, and restricting water. Don't give them a lot of water before bedtime either. As far as potty training goes, you know, you want to like cut off water like 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed, so that way they're kind of emptied before you go to bed. What else can you do? Waiting for food. Again, you know, we probably have a video on this. We can put one up if we don't. But having them just learn to wait for food, you know, like I said, usually I work puppies for most of their food, but I will use a little bit for 1 or 2 meals a day, just even if a few kibbles, just to practice waiting for food, because I want them to practice that too and have that experience of actually being fed from a dish. So set aside just a little bit of kibble for that. Like I said, definitely no jumping, whining, barking, nothing like that. Remember, you're not raising a puppy, you are raising a dog. That cute little puppy that likes to jump will be a big dog that likes to jump, depending on the breed that you have. But if you have a large breed dog, that is a dog that will like to jump and will be probably triple their weight within a few months. They will not grow out of it. So it's important to train your puppy early. And that's what all this is really about. And, you know, we talk to people who have struggles with not just, you know, puppies, but like 1 to 2 year old dogs that they're calling puppies, and, you know, they're reading online, or they're having like their vet tell them, or they're having their friends tell them. You know, the first people will tell us that, you know, they've not trained their dog because their friends told them the first few years were just going to have to be, you know, really difficult, and that they were just going to have to deal with it. That's absolutely not the case. Your dog can learn to be a productive and respectful member of your family very, very early. It will take some work. It will take some effort. There will be some pushback in the beginning, but it really is worth it, because it's going to be a lot easier than rehabilitating those behaviors out later. It will take way less time and effort and money than that, but also they're capable of it. So, you know, if someone tells you that like your puppy can't learn how to wait for their food or how to be calm in their crate, then don't listen to them. Watch some videos online, educate yourself, get some good tools and some good techniques, and definitely train your dog. Playtime. Playtime is cool too. We do, you know, we work the dog, but we also want to have like some fun, playful interaction with our puppy too. So that can be just kind of like rolling all around on the floor with them. But it can also be like having a toy. You know, they do teeth, so usually we will give them, you know, a hard toy and a plush or soft toy. If they chew up the plush toy, then you just need to get rid of it, and then they can have one hard toy. You can have multiple toys, but you need to cycle them in and out, only one at a time. They don't need like a room full of toys that they're just going around picking out. So if you have multiple toys, you can have one today and then one tomorrow and do whatever you want there. I will usually too, if they are teething and they like to chew, I'll usually leave maybe the hard chewy toy in the crate, maybe during the day, you know, not if I'm gone, but during the day while I'm home to supervise, definitely not at night, you know, that kind of thing. But if they want to teeth a little bit, you know, in their crate during the day, then that's fine. Let's see. You know, your dog doesn't need to, your puppy doesn't need to go like all over your house. That's another thing. You know, puppies are just free roaming all the time. Definitely no free roaming with your puppy. Your puppy doesn't need to see like every room of your house all at once. You can just confine them to like 1 or 2 rooms. That is plenty. And no free roaming is an important point too. Obviously, your dog's not going to be in duration, which is another big reason they're going to be in their crate so much. Because if they're not having a little bit of playtime or having some training time, or you know, maybe going on a short walk, then they're going to be in their crate. You know, we have young puppies here and we have almost no potty accidents, almost nothing chewed up, nothing ingested or stolen or anything like that, because there's no opportunity for the dogs to ever do that. You know, they're never just wandering around looking for shoes to chew. So a lot of people too feel like, you know, having your stuff chewed up is just kind of par for the course for having a puppy, and I think for a lot of people it probably is, but it doesn't have to be. You know, if your dog chewed up your shoe, then you kind of just need to evaluate where you were and where your dog got your shoe from and had the time to chew it up. That never happens here because there's never an opportunity for a puppy to just be wandering around and pick something up and eat it, and then us come find them, you know, chewing on it. So, you know, and if you're with your dog in your room and you're with your puppy and you're playing and they go to chew on your shoe or something like that, again, you can just say no, give them like a little, you know, just tell them no, try and move them away from it, try and redirect them towards like a toy or something like that. But definitely say no, correct it, don't let them do it. What else? What else do puppies do? Biting, nipping, definitely don't want to allow that. I know it's another puppy behavior that people feel like is cute, and the dog will probably outgrow, but that's not true. A puppy that is biting you will soon be a dog that is biting you, and dogs that bite you usually end up coming to have to come to people like me. So, which, you know, for some training and some behavior modifications. So, you know, start all this stuff really early, you know, set those boundaries really early. You know, it is going to be different when you have a young puppy versus like an older dog, you know, but there's a lot that you can do. You're still going to have to stay on top of it, you know, it is a lot of work, you know, puppies are a lot of work, you know, there's kind of no way around it. But if you come at it with the right mindset and with some good strategies and techniques, you can have a really good foundation. Then when you get to 14 weeks, 16 weeks, you're ready to start your prong and remote collar, you're ready to start doing duration, you know, and you're now just kind of layering those tools on top of what your dog already knows in a lot of ways. So by practicing, you know, crate, threshold, no free roaming, basic obedience, exposure, and walking on a leash, you know, that's a lot of good stuff that you can have already started in the first few weeks between getting your dog and starting later. It doesn't mean that you can't do all this later with your dog, but it's way, way, way easier to start young. So definitely, you know, get after it. If you have any comments, let us know. And yeah, thanks for checking us out.